Hello, everyone, and welcome to this week's What's Up Wednesday, where we are going live with you on Facebook and LinkedIn every Wednesday at 12 p.m. Eastern Time to talk about our upcoming 22nd Annual International Human Trafficking and Social Justice Conference, hosted virtually on September 17th through the 19th. We are exactly 3 weeks away from the conference. We are so close to it being September, so close to the conference. I'm so glad that you are joining us today. So my name is Anna Schramm. I am the conference planner of this amazing conference. I work at the University of Toledo's Human Trafficking and Social Justice Institute. And today I have a special guest with me, Mike Chapman. Mike is a recovery life coach and brain spotting provider. So hi, Mike. Thank you so much for being here.
Hi, thanks for having me. Glad to be here.
Yeah. So today we are focusing on our lived experience presentations at the conference. Throughout the summer, if you've been watching these videos, we have talked about programming, research, direct service, legal and law enforcement, healthcare, and international sessions. I have kept saying that is a lot of topics, and we are a very diverse conference. We have a lot of different presenters who come and talk about these different subjects. So one of the presenters that you can hear from is our lived experience experts and survivors. So we're going to get into that more a little bit later. But first, Mike, can you tell us just a little bit more about yourself and the work that you do?
Sure. Again, I'm Mike Chapman, a certified recovery life coach, brain spotting provider, and podcast host with Polar Life Consulting and a certified coach with Husband Material. I'm also a survivor of childhood sexual abuse and family controlled sex trafficking. I'm also part of the Speakers Bureau within Survivor Network North Carolina as a lived experienced expert and consultant, also an advocate member and a volunteer research associate with GOTS, Global Alliance of Human Trafficking Scholars.
Awesome. When I was looking at your bio, what does a brain spotting provider mean? What is that
Well,
exactly?
brain spotting is a technique that therapists and other professionals use to help the brain process traumatic events and so forth. It kind of came out of EMDR, but there's a whole book written on it and what it's about, and you can get a training. And it's not just for therapists, life coaches, sports mentors, all those kind of things can use it in their professions to work with the people that they serve. And what it does is it's a part of brain science. Like if someone tells a lie and it's like, oh, and they look away. Why do they look
Yeah.
away? It's the person who studied all this realized, okay, vision goes back to the visual cortex and it goes to this core brain stuff going on in the mind. Or remember when you were 3.5, what do you remember? Oh, gee, you look up there or wherever it is. And so there's these visual cues with your brain. And so what it does, we look at a certain event that's trauma or whatever, and then with looking at eye gaze, we'll train them to go different in their visual field, and they'll wait for certain clues to go, oh, okay, this is where that event is in this visual acuity. And if you stay staring in that spot, you can then access those core memories associated to that event and can do some reprocessing of that event. And it's weird mumbo jumbo stuff, but it's really effective.
Yeah.
And people like in sports, if they hit the wall, they'll use brain spotting to help them get over the wall. And it's like, okay, whatever this event. Oh yeah, I was in Little League. My dad used to yell at the coach, and it was horrible. Okay, let's get past this memory, and that's what is actually tripping them up. So
That's
yeah,
super
it can be. It has a whole bunch of different applications for it.
Oh,
But
that's
yeah,
so
you can
cool.
learn more on the internet, and there's workshops and so forth to be trained on it.
Nice. Well, I learn something new every day. Thanks for
There you
explaining
go.
that. That's so cool. So you identify and you, like you said, you are a lived experience expert. So
Yes.
from your experiences, tell our listeners a little bit about the importance of including lived experience experts and survivor voices in the work that we do in the anti-human trafficking and social justice fields.
Yes, absolutely. Having actual survivors there is so important due to the breadth and depth of the knowledge that we provide.
Mhm.
Also, each survivor has a different perspective on things. So, having more than just one survivor involved in whatever you're doing in this work is important because you have different perspectives that can help complement the knowledge base, and so you get even more bang for the buck. It's not like every single survivor has had the exact same experience. We've had
Mhm.
different experiences, different breadths of knowledge, and we can see where gaps are in whatever it is you're trying to provide. So it's very important to include survivors in this work. Absolutely.
Yeah, and over the time that I've worked in this field, I've really seen a lot more emphasis on the inclusion of survivor voices. And you kind of think that it's a little bit of a obvious to do that, but sometimes it's not, or professionals are just looking down and trying to get the work done, and it's like, no, if we're doing this work for this population, whatever that population is, it doesn't even have to be like human trafficking survivors, but including the people who have actually experienced it in the work that is being done is so important. So similar question, but what's the importance of including survivor voices as presenters in a conference like this?
Well, I mean, research is always important, but that also needs to be balanced by the stories of those survivors to make sure that what this research is suggesting actually matches the actual needs of the survivors out there. As a male survivor, I've noticed a severe lack of attention by many groups, don't even consider the male demographic at all in their research or their service provision.
Yeah, and I like that you do bring that male perspective to the group, and it's not talked about. And from even like you being involved, I feel like I have heard more emphasis on male trafficking survivors, because a lot of what is done is female focused, or even in language that is used in presentations, you're usually referring to victims as female and the perpetrators and traffickers as male, and that's not always the case, and we need to make sure we're challenging those biases. And I'm so glad that we have started talking more about male survivors.
Right, and using terms like Johns and
Mm,
pimps. It's really more general buyers and sellers because
right.
sometimes the pimp is a female, sometimes it's a family member,
Mm,
and oftentimes the buyers are female, and the
yeah.
victims can very easily be male for sure.
Yeah. So you have attended our conference for several years and you are back this year. So I'd love to hear about your experience with our conference and why you keep coming back.
Yes, well, I'm not only a survivor, but I'm also a service provider as a recovery life coach, as well as the podcast that I run, which also has a focus on men who've experienced sexual exploitation, especially in childhood, whether just abuse or trafficking or both. And there's a constant learning curve. Plus, there's so much research out there, more and more. I'm constantly learning. And then plus, it's a great way to network with other professionals and other survivors so we can continue to support each other in these efforts. Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, we're glad that we have you. And this year you are actually presenting at the conference. You are presenting for two different sessions. So you're just jumping right into it. So you're presenting by yourself for one session. Excuse me. And that session is titled Family Controlled Sex Trafficking of Young Boys, One Survivor's Healing Journey. And then the title of your other session that you're co-presenting with Jarrett Davis and Helen Stiver is Beyond Tokenization, Understanding and Addressing the Experiences of Survivor Leaders in Anti-Trafficking Work. So I know both of those sessions are going to be great. You're going to be covering a lot of information in there, but can you give our listeners just a little sneak peek into what you're going to be talking about and in those sessions?
Absolutely. My solo session shares my full story along with statistics on the sex trafficking of young boys in the US and other countries. And though I've shared my story in lots of different venues, this is really the deepest I've ever gone with my story and my healing journey. Several details I've never really shared anywhere else. And on the Thursday session, we did research this past year interviewing human trafficking survivors who are also currently serving in in leadership roles within the anti-trafficking field, discussing what their needs are, how we can improve the prevention and the working conditions for lived experience experts and consultants. We surveyed close to 100 survivor leaders and then did follow-up interviews with 10 of those leaders. And we are presenting our preliminary findings of the research at that Thursday session. The results were really fascinating and definitely shows there's many overlooked needs within this community.
Yeah, and I was lucky enough to be able to be part of that research project that we've been doing through the Global Association of Human Trafficking Scholars, GATS, and I'm really excited for some of these preliminary results to be shared. And then I also just want to thank you for sharing your story and talking about it in such detail that will hopefully provide more insight to people who need to learn more about male trafficking. And then also if there's other trafficking survivors, especially male survivors, who could learn something and feel seen by attending your session. So I know that those are going to be great sessions. So if you want to hear more from Mike, make sure that you are registered for our conference so you can attend those sessions. You'll go to our website, traffickingconference.com/register. So I do want to talk about a couple of our other lived experience sessions that you can attend at the conference. As I've been saying this entire summer, we have a lot of different sessions. We have over 110 breakout sessions that you can attend. That is a lot of content. One of the cool things about our conference is if you are registered, you have access to the recordings of the sessions for 3 weeks afterwards. So if there's something that you missed live, whether it was happening at the same time as another session or you had something with work or time zone differences, you can go back and watch those sessions afterwards. So want to mention some of the ones to highlight. So Chloe Collins will be speaking about her story in her session titled Dissociative Amnesia and My Journey to Healing. Alicia Tappan will be presenting From Victim to Warrior, the Need for Long-Term Services. Next, Angela Navarro will be talking about the transformative power of emotional intelligence in trauma recovery. Then Renee K. Adams will be presenting From Orphan to Overcomer, a survivor's journey through child abuse and trafficking. And finally, Christy Merrill and Sarah Hendy will be speaking about centering survivors, leadership, and healing. So those are going to be great sessions. We have several other sessions that are by lived experience presenters. So make sure that you go and check out our schedule on our website. We have all of our sessions listed. You can read the detailed information about them, the bios for the presenters on our website, and that's trafficking.com/schedule. Okay, Mike, is there anything else that you would like to add before we wrap up today? I know we covered a lot.
Yeah, certainly. One of my favorite things about these conferences are the lunch sessions. They're live Zoom hangouts. Everyone's on the screen, and they have several breakouts, but they fill up because the space is limited, so they don't have like 100 people in a room.
Yes.
And there's several that are survivor only. And it's a great way to meet with other survivors. And then there's lots of different professionals, different kinds of professions. But look at those lunch sessions and definitely sign up for those. And yeah, that's been some of my favorite parts of the conference is that live networking with others. And yeah, very, very helpful.
Yeah, I'm so glad that you highlighted that because even though we are a virtual conference, we do still understand the importance of that networking that sometimes you can't get in a webinar setting. So that's why we have those networking lunchtime sessions. So it's a Zoom meeting. So yeah, like you mentioned, everybody's on camera. You can come off mute and say something. You can see other people, make those connections. And we do try to keep them smaller so then you actually can talk and hear from other people. So if you are registered for the conference, make sure you RSVP for those sessions to secure your spot for that. But yeah, I'm glad that you highlighted that because that is one of my favorite things that we have kept and still do. So thank you so much for joining us today on this week's What's Up Wednesday and telling us a little bit about yourself and your session. So next week is going to be our last What's Up Wednesday of the summer. As usual, we'll be joining you live on Facebook and LinkedIn at 12 p.m. Eastern Time. For our last week, I'm I'm going to have special guest and the founder of the conference, Dr. Celia Williamson, on with me. We're going to talk about the history of the conference, what she's going to be speaking about this year, and some of the things that she's looking forward to most at this year's conference. So make sure you join us next week. If you want to learn anything more about our conference, anything that we talked about today, how to register, how to look at the schedule, all of that good stuff, go to our website, traffickingconference.com. So thank you again, Mike, for joining me today. Thank you all for listening, and we will see you next week. Bye, everyone.
Bye.